In just a few short months, we're gonna have something that officially we haven't really had in, well, ever. A multiplayer Fallout game, and when I say we haven't had officially, I mean that we probably know that there is Fallout Online. And I don't mean the MMO that Interplay, well, not Interplay, the decomposing husk of Interplay wrapped around the decrepit body of Titus was trying to make, or at least fund a while ago. No, I mean Fallout Online, which is a game made by smashing together Fallout 1 and Fallout 2 and then tying all that up into a custom engine that has online functionality and lets a lot of people just play together. Haven't tried it in like 9 years at the least. And when I did try it, it was quite simplistic. There was only one actual quest that you could do in the game to gain money, which was shoveling Brahmin poo. It was actually quite funny because while I was doing that, it may not sound like a great quest, but to me, most MMO quests are just that, with different shades of throwaway dialogue to explain why you were shoveling Brahmin poo. And in that pen, there was somebody saying, "Poop more, Brahmin," and I sort of imposed an enthusiasm in his voice, a desperation almost. A need for the Brahmin to poop more. And the game of course was an absolute garbage fest because it was full of Russians that basically tried to turn this into some sort of gang fight where if you were even seen in the vicinity of somebody they were warring with, you would be shot dead on sight. Because you know, you can't have an MMO without some beef between some losers on the internet. And because I'm a loser on the internet, I'm gonna talk a bit about switching genres, released, inserting different ideas into old series. I'm not sure what became of that Fallout MMO. I think it may still be out there unless somebody shut it down, probably Bethesda. They did do something funny once because it worked just like Fallout 1 and 2. So I shot somebody when I got a gun. I just randomly did it like in the street in Reno. I shot a player, then I went at them, killed them, and calmly walked away out of the map. I was doing this while I was recording a video about it, which is now on a defunct dead site and lost of time, and I predicted that that person will say what the fuck, and they did. And that was honestly a glorious experience in some way because that was still Fallout. That was very much still Fallout. Yeah, there were more people around. There wasn't what you would call a story there, because there wasn't. There wasn't the witty dialogue. Well, there were some NPCs, but dialogue that only worked. There were just some basic traders and some random chirps from the NPCs that you get from time to time. But mechanically, it was still something I identified as being Fallout, as I knew it to be. Fallout 76 won't be that. Fallout 76 will be Fallout 4 with a multiplayer. And Fallout 4 isn't what you exactly would call a Fallout game in a lot of ways. But it is still Fallout, isn't it? I mean, it's called Fallout 4, Bethesda owns Fallout, so it's Fallout. Or is it something else? Now, I make really no sort of illusions that Fallout as it once was would still sell as well these days. No, pardon. It wouldn't sell proportionally as well as it did back then as it would now. No, actually no, because Fallout 1 and 2 weren't super duper mega successes either back then. What I'm saying is that Fallout in Bethesda's vision is a game that will sell tens of millions of copies. Fallout in the version that I would have wanted to have would have sold a lot less. It would have sold something around like 2 million, 3 million copies at best. Now this, if I were approaching this from the perspective of a more of a purist person. But truthfully, I wasn't all that much of a purist in terms of Fallout, not after the debacle of realizing that the community is kind of, well, toxic isn't the right word. A bunch of pile-dogging assholes that don't really care about the reality of Fallout 3, just their interpretation of it. You know what I'm talking about, everyone was just posting that list of why Fallout 3 sucks, you know, that list that couldn't even get the name of the first town right, or some basic facts about the game right. And that was heralded as absolute truth. Fallout 3 did have some garbage moments in it, but I got what I wanted to do, and Fallout was kind of badly written in many parts. But then Fallout 4 came along, and that's not Fallout, is it? It's that question again. It has all the pieces of Fallout. Well, no, it doesn't have all the pieces of Fallout. It has a lot of the pieces of Fallout. It's in the same area as Fallout. It looks like Fallout, but it is its own thing. It's something different. Now, that doesn't mean I have to like it, but it's there. It's a situation similar to, one of the best examples probably is the Alien movies. The first one was a space slasher movie. You got some people stuck in a really cramped place and there's somebody hunting them that they cannot kill. It picks them off one by one. It's Space Jason, but with a tail. The second one, oh yeah, did have its horror moments, but it was an absolute blast of an action movie. Same idea, same characters, same setting, totally different movies. Absolutely night and day different, and they are both great. And Fallout is sort of in that same idea, that same vein. It's the same setting. Sometimes you even run into the same characters, but they're completely different. It's a new approach on an old idea. And I absolutely understand Bethesda's approach, thanks to the documentary from NoClip. You should watch the NoClip documentary about Bethesda. It's about 3 hours long or something, with all the annexes. Fantastic stuff. Bethesda wanted Fallout because it was a universe in which they could do basically anything they wanted to. It was post-apocalyptic, and it let them just go wild with creativity. And what they really wanted, and I mean really wanted, was to recreate bits of the world that they knew in the game. They did that with Washington, and they absolutely did that with Boston. That's what it was about for them. About putting things they knew, putting the real world, putting even the places they grew up in into a game, and then blowing them up. Filling them with mutants. I mean, who wouldn't? Let's face it, don't tell me you haven't thought about turning your school or your childhood neighborhood into a zombie survival type of situation or a Counter-Strike map. Everybody's thought of it. There's nothing wrong with that. Unless the FBI is listening, in which case, hi, nothing bad going on here, Double Kane. And I really like that idea that they had. It's a new and interesting approach that really was not possible in the time when Fallout 1 and 2 were made. Though come to think of it, if I'm referring to changing genres and changing ideas in Fallout, well, Fallout Tactics did that as well. And I was honestly not as upset with some of the things it did, you know, like not having dialogue, as I was with what I saw in Fallout 4, mostly because that was Fallout Tactics, not Fallout 4. Which does leads us to the inevitable question, okay, so it's a Fallout game, does that mean that every change they make in it is good? No, oh god no, hell no, Jesus. I get the need to make changes. If you saw the documentary Jodorowsky's Dune about the madman Alejandro Jodorowsky that tried to make a Dune movie in ages long past, even before Star Wars was a thing, you know, he wanted to change the ending and just have one movie, not multiple books adapted, no, just one movie with an ending where Paul dies, because let's face it, Fade was a better fighter. But, you know, he was the Kwisatz Haderach and, you know, was not really constrained to one person anymore and was just everyone. And by killing him, it just unleashed a god that was now encompassing an entire planet that became self-aware and traveled the galaxy. That's a difference that I am on board with, because that is not just different. That is different on a scale that is admirable. That is different in a way that makes the whole thing kind of worthwhile. So when I see that Fallout 4 has that building aspect in it, yeah, even though it's a bit more like Minecraft than it is Fallout, even though it's gonna have multiplayer now with Fallout 76, yeah, that is a difference that could be extremely beneficial, because it will be injecting something new into Fallout. It will be making it different than it was in the past, but not by taking away from it, but by adding to it. But, and there's a small caveat here, even before they added all of these things into the game, they've already taken out a lot of other things. One of the core elements of Fallout, the dialogue, which was kind of clever and smart in some ways. It let you express yourself. It wasn't four bland options built in such a way so that somebody playing with a gamepad will be able to turn off their brain and just auto-respond. That is making the series worse. But as Steven said, Steven from Siena, since we do a podcast together, you should check it out. It's every, honestly, I don't know what day it airs. I think it's Monday or Tuesday. We talk about different things, but as he said before, the old games are still there. They still exist. They are unchanged. They are untainted. You can still play them and enjoy them. They're still very much at your disposal if you want true, original Fallout. And I agree with what he says. Absolutely. That is is absolutely correct. But there's also one thing that keeps nagging me at my brain, and it won't stop. If they continue to strip pretty much what Fallout used to be out of Fallout, why even call it Fallout anymore? Well, yeah, because of the branding. But other than that, they could have made any generic post-apocalyptic game with the same feature set, called it something else, and you could have not have guessed that at its core it was supposed to be a Fallout game, because, let's face it, it's no longer a Fallout game. Well, yeah, the aesthetic sort of fits with the Vault Boy and the Pip Boy on your hand, but take those out, that's not Fallout. So what it ends up being in the end is a mishmash of really poor ideas that stream from modern console game design, rammed into a series that is known for something completely different, adding on top of that some new ideas that, yeah, could absolutely fit into Fallout, into pretty much any game, into evolving the idea of that game, with the odd insert of a tidbit that's from the old Fallout games that seems to sort of haunt the series now. You know, you kind of have to appreciate that in Fallout New Vegas, you didn't have dog meat. You had a cybernetic dog who wasn't dog meat. In Fallout 2, you didn't have dog meat. You could find them if you entered some event. You would find randomly on the map, and rare occasions, the Cafe of Broken Dreams. Other than that, no dog meat. We're kind of getting to the Monkey Island type scenario where they keep repeating what they thought was good in the old games without getting what was good. But here it's more about paying lip service to the origins, and well, people like having a dog around. And to be fair, it's not just Fallout. Bethesda's been doing this with the Elder Scrolls as well. Pretty much nobody that worked on the Elder Scrolls back in the day still works at the company, and the series has gone into strange new directions that really do not fit with what the series used to be. You may call me a hater again, but I still kind of blame consoles for this. I know that Morrowind was an unexpected success on consoles, and Oblivion was a massive success on consoles, and Skyrim's probably the best-selling RPG on consoles, so they know who they're making it for and how they're making it, but that means that the people who wanted things to continue on the line they began with, evolve that tangent, they only have what was at the beginning. Yeah, the originals are still there, untainted, still playable, but their ideas are abandoned. You will never see anything evolving their idea forward, their concepts. They're dead. And let's face it, making people play those games now is kind of a hard thing to do. People don't have that kind of patience. People have been trained to, if something doesn't excite them, doesn't have bells and whistles and jiggle at them every 5 seconds, they're gonna lose interest because, I don't know, that's modern game design, I guess. Those kind of games aren't coming back. And honestly, it's not that it's a bad thing that there is this version of turn off your brain and jiggle the gamepad for a couple of hours while you do stuff around is a bad thing. It's okay to have this kind of game shut up, but those old games sort of forced you to think about stuff. You know, to consider consequences of actions, ways in which you did things. They felt less limiting, even though the technology back then was as limiting as it could get. And it's kind of strange, but there seem to be a lot of Bethesda games that have this issue right now. Well, have this issue for a while now. Wolfenstein, superb series of shooters, right? That's not what the series was about. Wolfenstein, the old one, the Castle Wolfenstein game, that was a bit of a sneaker game. A sneaking component that they could not put into Wolfenstein 3D because, well, they couldn't. Technologically, it didn't really work out as well, and it sort of slowed the game down. So that series pretty much lost that whole component for a while. Well, it was sort of brought back in Return to Castle Wolfenstein for a bit, kind of worked out, but really didn't gel with what the series now was. So there's no going back, and I don't think it really fits Wolfenstein as it is now to go back. It doesn't fit Fallout as it is now to go back either. It can't. It is what it is now, it's its own thing, and bits of it absolutely suck ass. But is what it brought into the series good enough to compensate? Well, that may be a bit subjective depending on each and every person. Personally, I want to hit people in the groin with a baseball bat, and modern Fallout falls very, very short of that. So, Fallout 76 is on the horizon. It will be here soon, and depending on how well it does, it may be a change that's a bit more permanent to the series than we believed previously. I know Bethesda has said that they're just trying everything they can, but they will go towards what makes money. I have no doubt, because that's what companies do. That's what they need to do to survive. That imports Skyrim to every possible platform in 15 editions, because it's a lot cheaper than making, I don't know, a remake of Daggerfall on the Unity engine, which is something that somebody's been doing for free for a couple of years. If you've got your own take on the notion of changing old game series, if you're conflicted on that as much as I am, have a go at it in the comments. Odds are I'll probably be reading them and forgetting to reply, because remember how I said I had 2 jobs? Well, I somehow have 3 now? I'm not sure how it happened, but I was supposed to be on semi-vacation this month to recover, but I don't know how it happened. I keep getting jobs. Well, at least this one's paying, so it's a good thing. Goodbye.